Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome to Endgame Recap. I am your host, Kyle Stolick. This is a weekly gaming news recap show, and it's starting to become a little bit more than that, so brace yourself because we got a lot to talk about today, and it's going to be fun. We're going to separate this into a little bit of nerd rage in the beginning, and then we're going to go into some more discussionary type stuff, and then at the end we're going to try and ease into the weekend with a little bit of joy and kind of some good takes that are happening around the industry. You ready for that? Good. So before I go into all that, stuttering over here, I say, you gotta listen to the new OK Lou album. OK Lou. It's this French musician. If you listen to last year's McGee album, MK.GEE, this sounds like it's like a sister album to that. And it's a wonderful feeling. It feels like airy. My wife Colette says it feels sparkly. And I can see that too. So if you're able, put that album on while you're listening to this. Actually, no. I'm already walking that back. If it's rainy where you are, put that album on and go for a walk and listen to it in the rain because it's a glorious experience. Then the second or third time you listen to it, maybe listen to this at the same time. It's just kind of the vibe I'm going for today. Okay, I'm reaching, I know. All right, let's get into some of the stuff I wanted to talk about. There's, how do I say this? I've been wanting to talk about this ever since last Friday. I saw it after I recorded the podcast. I'm just going to start it out. Have you ever seen someone get called out? Have you ever seen someone lie and then immediately get called out publicly for it? That's what happened on the Dark Tide forums last week. This user, I don't want to say their name. I'm not gonna call that out, but this person said, "Woke moderator team. I was banned because I wrote in the chat, play heresy if you're not good enough for Auric damnation because my team died every 2 minutes. I don't know which moderator decided this, but I have a tip for you. Stop being woke." If that's enough to ban someone, I wonder how woke the moderator team is. How can you report a player for something like that? Is this one of those people who believe there are more than two genders? And as we all know, the Steam forums are kind of a toxic place sometimes for this type of conversation. I put conversation in quotes there. But hilariously, a member of the development team came out and responded to this person and said, this is Fat Shark Julia, one of the developers, said, "Hey, Respawn." Oh, I said the person's name. My bad. I've had a look into this and read through the logs, and I can confirm that you were not banned for saying play heresy if you're not good enough for Auric damnation, as mentioned here. As always, if you wish to discuss a ban, please reach out to fatshark.se/support. Thank you. Oh boy, I wonder what this person said to get them banned. If they are whining about wokeness, and all they said was play heresy if you're not good enough for Auric damnation, which is a difficulty. What did they say? Do you think possibly it could have been related to any epithets, any hate speech around that? Let me know. Let me know in the comments wherever you may be listening to this. All right, so rolling into another topic about toxicity. If the word incel stirs some kind of feeling in you, you might want to listen to this. It says, incels misperceive societal views, overestimating blame and underestimating sympathy. Now, this is an article at scipost.org. It says, incels significantly overestimate how much society blames them for their problems and underestimate the level of sympathy from others, according to new research published in Personality and Individual Differences. It continues, involuntary celibates, or incels, represent an online subculture of men who define themselves by their perceived inability to form sexual or romantic relationships. The community is characterized by self-loathing, depression, and often misogynistic attitudes. Now, keep in mind, A lot of people don't like when they're called incels. As someone who goes to the gym a lot, I don't care when someone accuses me of being on steroids. It doesn't matter. I'm not on steroids. If you are not an incel, you probably don't care if someone calls you an incel. Someone could call me an incel, and I would laugh it off. I just want to throw that out there. All right, it says, incels' victimhood mindset is encapsulated by their black pill philosophy, a belief that there is nothing they can do to improve their romantic prospects, write study authors William Costello and Andrew G. Thomas. Previous research has documented various cognitive distortions among incels, such as overestimating the importance of physical appearance and female mate preferences, while underestimating traits like kindness and humor. However, no study has formally investigated how incels perceive society's views of them compared to what society actually thinks. The researchers designed the study to address 3 key questions. What do people actually think about incels? How accurate are incels in perceiving these societal views? And how do incels' self-perceptions differ from how society sees them? It goes into how people recruited them. It says, after providing demographic information, incel participants rated how they believe society views them, while non-incels rated their own opinions about incels using 7 items on a 5-point Likert scale. I don't know what that means. These items assess perceptions of blame, sympathy, desire for incels' romantic success from society and other incels, danger to society, danger to themselves, and misogyny. Data were aggregated to create a composite animosity score reflecting overall negative perceptions. The researchers also measured individual differences, including loneliness, interpersonal victimhood, and feminist identification. The study revealed 3 key findings. I know this is a lot, so bear with me here. First, societal views of incels were broadly sympathetic or neutral on most measures. Second, incels significantly overestimated how much society blames them for their problems and underestimated the level of sympathy from others. Third, both incels and non-incels showed general agreement about the dangers incels pose to themselves and society, and the extent to which incels harbor misogynistic attitudes towards women. Interesting. I can never say this word. Interestingly, loneliness played a limited role in predicting these misperceptions, though it was associated with incels' perceptions of societal blame. Meanwhile, tendencies for interpersonal victimhood did not strongly predict incels' misperceptions. This is really important here. I want to end it on. There's so much more to this. It says, a notable finding was the role of feminist identification in shaping attitudes towards incels. Higher feminist identification among non-incels was associated with decreased sympathy and support for incels' romantic success, increased blame attribution, and higher overall animosity towards incels. This effect was particularly pronounced among women with stronger feminist identification. The researchers suggest that while incels may overestimate general societal hostility, their perceptions of animosity from feminist subgroups appear more accurate. Both incels and non-incels, regardless of feminist identification, agreed that incels pose a danger to themselves, highlighting a shared concern about self-harm risks within the incel community. The authors acknowledge that their recruitment strategy, which relied on snowball sampling through social media platforms, may have introduced bias by including individuals who are more familiar with incels or have stronger opinions about them compared to the general population. And they finally end here saying, these findings suggest that incels' worldview that society universally hates them is largely inaccurate, which offers optimism for potential interventions and more effective approaches to help this vulnerable group. And I really love that classification as a vulnerable group to these people, because they're sad, they are lonely, and let's be honest, they're horny. So ostracizing them more, putting them into that corner isn't the solution, even though we are all certainly to blame for that. As a society, they have been done a disservice in a way, intentionally or unintentionally so. So how do we build these bridges to help this vulnerable group be happier? How do we bring joy to that group. And I don't have a solution for that. I'm someone who actively defends against their behaviors. If I don't like when people get bullied. And so I've spent time talking to incels, trying to figure out where the hate comes from. And I've actually built bridges through games to do that. They may not describe themselves as incels, but they certainly have incel behavior. But I don't know how we do it at scale. I'm just throwing it out there. Another part I want to note is the women with strong feelings of feminism having stronger preconceived notions against incels. And I really think that comes from the awareness of incels being a threat. There have been a lot of stalker tendencies, hate, death threats, threats of physical and sexual violence, certainly emotional violence being sent a lot of these women's way. But I think, I don't think feminism is bad is a takeaway from that. I think that feminism as a whole is great, and it's indicative that these women that are aware of what's happening have these, like I said, preconceived notions that they need to be aware of these people. So they're a little apprehensive of embracing them or of having a positive mindset. Can't blame them. Cannot blame that at all. All right, let's keep going here. Let's flow into something else. One thing that the incels... Here, let's build a bridge. Incels, I've seen you online, and you may not call yourself incels, but I've seen you brigading these types of discussions that I'm about to jump into. So let's build a bridge. It says, the headline here, you'll need to pay to edit your Monster Hunter Wilds character beyond the first redo. And what happens in Monster Hunter is you create your character, and then if you don't like how it looks, you get a free redo on that character. But if you want to do it again, it's going to cost you money. Now, why is that? Why? Why are you charging people for that type of thing? Is it because it creates a lot of work in the back end for your programmers? Do you have to justify the costs? What is the inherent value exchange? What is the lift on your side, Capcom? Love you as a developer and publisher. I've played all the Resident Evil games pretty much at this point, read the books, did everything. Love you. Love what you do. But can you please explain to me why you are doing this? Is it because you saw an opportunity to make money, or are you justifying some back-end work that needs to happen? And I think we all need to be asking those questions. And I got to thank a certain type of angry video game crew that does call out publishers for these predatory practices. Thank you very much for doing that. Now, Capcom, as an unemployed person, if you need someone to come to your company and help you work on this stuff, check out my LinkedIn. I could use a job right now. Unemployed former marketing and community person shoots him in the foot at prospect of job by calling out game company. But come on, we can do better. We can do better for the end users, right? Right. Okay. All right. So let's keep on. All right. That one kind of shook us. Let's realign ourselves here. Okay. Let's check out a good piece of news. Oh no, it's not a good piece of news. It says, this is at Eurogamer, Activision AI slop Guitar Hero advert is market research for a fake game that doesn't exist and maybe never will. Call of Duty and Crash Bandicoot titles also touted. They write, Activision's social media post advertising a new entry in the Guitar Hero series is market research for a game that doesn't exist and is not meant to be an actual announcement. The fake advert, which has been dubbed AI slop for its use of poorly generated imagery, is one of several tests currently being run across the publisher's social media profiles. These adverts also include new smartphone games and other Activision franchises such as Call of Duty and Crash Bandicoot that also don't exist yet either. Clicking on some of the adverts will take you through a mocked-up mobile store page organized by marketing service Geek Lab, and then onto a survey that reveals this isn't a real game, but could be someday. How do you feel about that, people? How do you feel about Activision sending these ads out there? Is it good? Do you believe that you, as a Guitar Hero fan, have an opportunity to voice your opinion that there should be a new game? Or do you see it as more of a way to use AI to, use the public to make business decisions? Well, how do you feel about this? I got a lot of thoughts on it. I don't want to plant too much in your brains, but let me know in the comments. I would love to hear more about that one. Oh, I don't want to touch on this one. I just want to say the article says, SAG-AFTRA video game performers hold picket outside WB Games as strike continues. We are still fighting. And it shows a picture of them out in the rain. It's been raining in LA for a few days now. Wonderful people doing that. We should support all the people striking. We should support everyone in creative who is trying to put their foot down a little bit and say, pay people for what they're deserved. The article goes on. Over 7 months since declaring a strike against all video game companies assigned to the Interactive Media Agreement, SAG-AFTRA video game performers braved the LA rain for their first picket of the year on Wednesday. Because of the wildfires and award season and everything that the world is dealing with, this felt like the right time where we could get back into it all. Resident Evil Village actor and member of the Interactive Agreement Negotiating Committee, Andy Norris, told Variety from the picket outside WB Games in Burbank, "We can bring this back up again and remind people that we are still fighting." And it says, while SAG-AFTRA and the video game company's bargaining committee, which includes Activision Productions, Blindlight, Disney Character Voices, Electronic Arts Productions, Formosa Interactive, Insomniac Games, Llama Productions, Take-Two Productions, and WB Games, were able to find common ground on 24 items in a 25-item proposal, the ongoing sticking points surrounds the use of generative AI in games, particularly in regard to motion and performance captures. AI is going to disrupt a lot of things. Support creators and not AI. Right. All right. Shake it out. We got most of the negative stuff out. Here we go. Let's take a drink of our Earl Grey tea. Tea Earl Grey hot. More like lukewarm right now. Let's go into the good news. It says, shockingly, nobody bought the $386,000 special edition of Dying Light that came with parkour lessons and a full-size custom zombie survival shelter. Nobody purchased it, thankfully, I guess. This one says, collector's editions of games can run to some hefty prices. An ultimate edition of Stalker 2 will set you back more than £300 on Amazon, while collector's editions of Baldur's Gate 3 have sold for more than $1,000 on eBay, though admittedly those are in very limited supply. None of these come close to the My Apocalypse edition of 2015's Dying Light, however. Originally promoted around the launch of Techland's zombie survival game, the My Apocalypse edition was priced at a whopping £250,000 or $386,000 American greenbacks. For this colossal sum, the My Apocalypse edition purportedly included the following: 4 signed steelbook copies of Dying Light, 2 sets of Razer Tiamat headphones for your 2 heads, branded night vision goggles, a human-sized figure of one of the game's volatile enemies, zombie survival parkour lessons with the Ampisound parkour free running team, a photo of your face skinned onto your Night Hunter character, a round trip to Techland where you'd get to party with Steve the Zombie consultant and dominate our devs in a rigged Be the Zombie match so you can brag to your friends, a custom-built zombie survival shelter provided by Tiger Log Cabins, some, quote, adult diapers to go with your night vision goggles for Dying Light's nighttime gameplay. Yeah, so did anyone actually buy it? It says, well, this was recently answered by Techland's PR manager. It said that it was a PR stunt and got a lot of media attention for its wild and over-the-top nature. She wanted to state that it did a great job of getting the game noticed, but that nobody purchased it, thankfully, I guess. Yeah. But what if someone had? They'd have to, deliver on it. Did they figure out the cost? Because the survival shelter, it seems like you're getting a deal for your money with that. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. All right, another question to all of you. This is from Reddit. I love getting these questions on there. It's fun to pick them up. It says, which game has a good start but later becomes boring and repetitive? And the first one says Hogwarts Legacy. Other people say Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Pokemon Sword and Shield. What else do people have? Civilization. Any game that raises difficulty by making the numbers bigger. Dragon Ball Z says, what? Dead Island 2. And then here's the answer that I could relate to the most. 98% of all AAA open world blockbuster games from the last 15 years. That's the problem I have with a lot of these. It's really hard. There's this great opening, and then you get into that open world, and then they kind of lose focus. The writing becomes a little iffy. Nothing seems meaningful. It seems like you're doing a lot of quests, fetch quests, and just stuff to pad the time. Anything that really feels like it pads the time, I stop. It's harder and harder to hold my attention as I get older these days. What are you feeling? What games are you picking? Let me know. And here's another thing at the Reddit R Gaming group. It says, tariffs will surely cause business to close and prices to skyrocket. This is a bit of news that was in a Red Dead Redemption 2 in-game newspaper. I thought it's kind of funny, and since we seem to be off and on in a trade war with everybody these days, I would read this out loud. It says, the headline of the newspaper in the game says, President's Act further isolate America. Or President's Acts further isolate America. Country plunges into the blackest gloom. Tariff acts hurt trade, raise prices. President Alfred McAllister signed the Tariff Act last week, raising custom duties by an average of 60%. Shopkeepers and traders say that tariffs will surely cause business to close and prices to skyrocket. Imported woolen products now face a 90% rate. The president asserted that the signing that tariffs result in national prosperity. We must keep foreign products from our shores. They strip our workers of labor, food from the tables of our families, and only seek to benefit rich titans of industry abroad, he said at the signing. The president's popularity has been waning during his campaign for American isolationism, and especially after a typhoid epidemic ravaged and killed 2,500 troops and military bases across the country under his administration. Yep. Long pause. So do you know Jeff Jarrett, the WWE wrestler? Well, guess what? He's getting involved in video games. It says, legendary game publisher Acclaim returns, focusing on supporting indies and revitalizing classics. A group of industry veterans united to bring it back. American video game publisher Acclaim Entertainment is back after it was taken down by bankruptcy more than 20 years ago. It is formed by a group of industry veterans and under the leadership of its new CEO, Alex Joseph, who has over 20 years of marketing and publishing experience across various platforms. The company will now focus on offering support for indie game studios and original IP while bringing back beloved classics for the new generation. First established nearly 40 years ago in 1987, Acclaim held a place in the hearts of some older players. It published quite many hit games from franchises like Mortal Kombat, NBA Jam, and Turok. However, in 2004, the company faced severe financial difficulties, mainly due to poor sales of its titles, and went bankrupt. Then, many of its publishing rights were acquired and reallocated in the following years. The revived company has a major initiative to help indie developers, mainly by providing much-needed resources, including funding, marketing, and PR support. This would benefit smaller studios by bringing their creative visions to a broader audience. So it says the other target is to resurrect and revitalize its beloved portfolio of classic IP. To make the goal come to life, an advisory board by esteemed industry leaders has been set up, including Russell Binder at Stryker Entertainment, Mark Kaplan at Ridge Partners, and renowned wrestler Jeff Jarrett, who boasts more than 3 decades of experience in both wrestling and gaming universes. So Jeff Jarrett is getting involved more in games. Can't wait to see what happens with that. Good luck to everyone at Acclaim. Bring back Turok, please. And do me a favor. Bring back the cerebral bore Anyone else remember that weapon? It was a weapon in Turok, and it was a homing weapon. And when it locked on, it was basically a one-shot thing. It would dig into the enemy's skulls, and it was gruesome. It was bloody. It was awesome. I want that again. So here we go. Here's an article at ABC News. I always love when video game makes the headlines. It says, Angry Birds Frogger among finalists for the World Video Game Hall of Fame. The World Video Game Hall of Fame has revealed its 12 finalists for 2025. This year's finalists for the World Video Game Hall of Fame include trailblazers in esports, electronic pets, and portable gaming, as well as the arcade favorite brought to life in a 1998 episode of Seinfeld. The Hall of Fame revealed the 12 finalists up for induction on Thursday and opened a week of public voting. The winners will be enshrined May 8th at the Hall's new space inside the Strong National Museum of Play in Rochester. The 2025 finalists are Age of Empires, Angry Birds, Call of Duty 4, Modern Warfare Defender, Frogger, GoldenEye, Golden Tee, Harvest Moon, Mattel Football, Quake, NBA 2K, and Tamagotchi. This year's finalists span the decades and range from arcade classics to one of the most popular mobile games of all time. John Paul C. Dyson, director of the Strong's International Center for the History of Electronic Games, said in a news release, all of these games have enormously influenced pop culture or the game industry itself. So which one are you picking, everyone? It's really hard for me to pick just one for that. Like, I have fond memories of all of them. You know, if I could maybe pick one, it would be Quake. It wouldn't have so much without Quake. But then Frogger, you know? 2K redefined sports games. NBA 2K and NFL 2K. But Angry Birds, there was this great moment with Angry Birds where PopCap that made Plants vs. Zombies, they were talking about like, oh, we're better than Angry Birds people and something like that. And Angry Birds people just laughed at it, and Angry Birds made so much money. Yeah, it was kind of crazy. So we'll see what happens with that one. All right, this one says, the best video game villains of all time ranked. Who do you think? Who is the best video game villain for you? Think about it for a second before I go into this. All right, it says number 7, Dr. Wily, or as he says in one of the games, or Dr. Light, the hero, the dad of the hero, it says Dr. Wily. Every time I read that, I think about that. Number 6 says Bowser. Number 7, or 6, I mean 5, is Ganondorf from Zelda. Number 4 is Voss, who was a villain in Far Cry 3, and incredibly intense and smart pick. Number 3 is Albert Wesker from Resident Evil. Number 2 is Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII. I never really thought that Sephiroth was a great villain, per se, but maybe he is in the remakes. I haven't played those yet. And then finally, we have a character called Senator Armstrong from Metal Gear Rising. A character often memed by the way that he talked about the way that he's going to make America great again and his attitudes. But if you go back and look at the things that he's talking about, it's very similar to today. So that was a deep cut Digital Trends that created the article. Nicely done there. So here's something that's going to seem a little silly to you. Extremely silly. Steam, you know, that you buy all your PC games from pretty much, they added a notes feature. So this notes feature allows you to just take notes while you play a game instead of opening another program or writing something physically down. It's been a big hit. And they just expanded it in a way that seems really simple, but is making a lot of people happy. Now, it seems like a simple solution. I want to preface all this because this is a clear example of a company doing something in a way that, you know, if you're able to make a small improvement with a little bit of work, do it. So it says Steam users react ecstatically to update that lets them access their heaving game notes via the web. And then it says something about Monster Hunter Wilds video recording. But the point is that people are now able to like sit on their phone and access their notes from Steam, from a browser, so that they can not have to click a different button, like I think it's Shift Tab to go into that. Brilliant, brilliant. I love this. People got to listen to more of this. Short thing here. You've ever seen the movie Gummo, or you're familiar with the director Harmony Korine, who was banned forever from the Letterman show for rifling through Meryl Streep's purse, apparently. He's also kind of a hard guest for them to have on, but he announced his first game. It's called Tamashika. The best way to describe this is it's fast-paced. It's kind of psychedelic looking. The visuals are wild. It says, built with speed, precision, and fluid motion at its core, Tamashika places players in a procedurally generated labyrinth, armed with a semi-automatic pistol, a tanto blade, and abilities like parrying, teleportation, and astral projection. It's less of a traditional game and more of an audio-visual trip, fusing hand-drawn animations, precision sound design, and an unpredictable rhythm flow state. So, cool. Harmony Korine is making a game. Regardless of what you think about him, I'm excited to see what creatively he outputs here. We need more creative ideas in gaming. I think we're all a little bored sometimes of what we're currently offered, even though the indie area has a lot. Awesome. That's great. I can't wait to see what happens with this. All right, final article of the day. And I always try to end this on a happy note, like I say every week. So we get more people listening every week. So I got to make sure I kind of explain what this is. So this one says, new WHO and ITU standard aims to prevent hearing loss among gamers. Ahead of World Hearing Day 2025, the World Health Organization, WHO, and the International Telecommunication Union, ITU, are highlighting the first global standard for safe listening in video gameplay and esport activities, which aims to reduce the risk of preventing hearing loss among gamers. Previously, no safe listening guidelines or standards existed for video gameplay devices or software. This is super important to everybody. As I mentioned last week, gamers' heads shapes may change in the long-term future based on prolonged headphone usage. So if you think about that, how will our hearing change? We need to have some kind of standards to protect people and their hearing, because once you lose that hearing, you ain't getting it back. So this is very, very important. We need to be pro-consumer and pro-protections based to prevent people from having long-term damage to themselves. Whether you're an adult that can make those decisions for you, if you want to intentionally damage your ears, okay, no one's going to say no to that. You do you. But we also have to make sure that we're protecting kids and people uninformed about these things. So that's where my mindset is at on this. I'm really happy that we can agree that there are some types of protections on this. If you want to read more, this is at the World Health Organization. Go and Google it. Go and check that article out. It's fantastic. So that's the podcast for this week. Thank you everyone for listening. Thank you for following on all the channels. I am ecstatic with all the support that I'm receiving. So thank you so much. And if you think this is of value, please go and share the stuff around. Go share the posts. Go share the podcast. Go tell people about it. Go tell people about it to your bartender, your grandma, your grandpa, your dogs, all that stuff. Okay? I can use the help. Thank you very much. I'll see you next week. Bye.